All right, let's talk about the Los Angeles Chargers. This is a football team that started the season in a strong way. They battled through some injuries and some tough defeats before heading into their bye last week. Fortunately, we've got some great news on the Chargers front as they head into a big time matchup. Exciting news for LA. I'm Nick, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, like I alluded to, the Chargers team this season started strong, but the injury bug really hit them, especially in their last performance before the bye. This was a team predicated on the offensive line, running the football, dominating the line of scrimmage. And when you are beat up at that position, it's really hard for that strategy to work out. Fortunately for the Chargers, they got some great news on that front. Let's pull up this report courtesy of SI.com. Los Angeles Chargers offensive tackles Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater have been dealing with injury issues heading into the Week 6 AFC West game against the Denver Broncos. Wednesday, both Alt and Slater returned to practice after the bye. That's an important first step on the return path for both tackles and huge for the offense as a whole. Alt, the fifth overall pick this year, who got off to a hot start by shutting down Las Vegas Raiders star Max Crosby, suffered a sprained MCL during the Week 3 loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers and missed the Week 4 loss to the Kansas City Chiefs. Slater, the elite tackle on the other edge in front of Herbert, went down against the Steelers with a pec injury and also missed the AFC West game against the Chiefs. Obviously, those two games, Steelers and Chiefs, ended in defeats for the Los Angeles Chargers. I think we can all agree that if the Chargers were healthy, one of, if not both of those games end up completely different, but the past is the past. It's great news that their two cornerstones on this offensive line, left and right tackle, are getting healthier in time for a key division matchup. Miles, I'm curious what your thoughts are on this and all things Chargers. But first, LA fans in the comment section below, like the report alluded to, heading into a big time divisional matchup against the Denver Broncos. Now's your chance. Give us your prediction, final score, Denver, LA. How do you think it's going to shake out? Let us know in the comment section below. But Miles, what are your thoughts on this latest Chargers news?
Yeah, Nick, I think this is obviously very big for the Chargers, especially because the point you hit on, this is a Chargers team that early on, Jim Harbaugh came out and said this is a team that predicates themselves on being good in the trenches. You have to be solid in the trenches, and missing your two tackles is always going to spell disaster for your team, especially in any sort of blocking scheme. And also, Greg Roman, this run heavy scheme they do, there's a lot of movement. There's a lot of motions. There's a lot of interesting things going on, complicated stuff. So anytime your two-star offensive linemen are out of the lineup, I think it's going to look very bad for your team. So I think this is really strong news for this Chargers team, who's been up and down this season. I think there's spots where they've looked pretty good, but I also think there's spots where they've looked a little bit shaky as well. So I think coming off these two losses, they're really close defensively. I think that they could have pulled it off. They're right razor's edge to pulling off the victories, but I think having two good offensive tackles back into the fold or not going down during the game definitely would have been the deciding factor. So I think coming out this week against a Broncos team that I think the Chargers should be able to beat. They have been a little bit frisky at times this year. I think they should be able to beat them. This is the thing that's going to get this Chargers season moving in the right direction. After the Broncos, they have a pretty good lineup of teams of games they should win. Cardinals, again, a team that's a little bit frisky. Then go Saints. They've been very up and down. Who knows what they're going to be doing? It will Derek Carr be available for the game? The Browns, they should be able to beat them. The Titans, they should be able to beat them. And the Bengals, you don't know if they're going to be able to get out of this massive slump they're in as well. So I think this is going to be a good time for these guys to come back and be healthy because the Chargers seem like they could go on a run getting themselves back in the thick of the playoff race.
Yeah, and it's not just what we visually see on Sundays in terms of the issues in the offensive line. Obviously, when you lose your two tackles, your performance is going to dip. The analytical drop off that you see when you break down the numbers is absolutely ridiculous. So, if you look at the first two games of the season, excuse me, the Los Angeles Chargers, they graded out roughly 73 pass blocking grade as a unit. According to PFF, the last two games, they graded out about 37. That is an incredible drop. We're talking, what is it? They're like 36 points and pass protection grade delta. That is ridiculous. You go from being a good offensive line to the worst offensive line in football. That's essentially what they had to deal with the injuries to Alt and Slater. The run blocking delta, not quite as bad, but again, a noticeable drop off between weeks 1 and 2 versus weeks 3 and 4. Getting healthier on that front turns this Chargers football team into what Harbaugh wants them to be. And look, they're coming into a matchup against the Denver Broncos. Like you said, they've been kind of feisty, but the reality is Broncos starting a rookie quarterback, their talent level is far from outstanding. This is a game, if you're the Los Angeles Chargers coming off a bye, getting healthy, you've got to come out and find a way to win if you're going to be seen as a real playoff contender this year. And I think the Chargers certainly can. Herbert's a great quarterback. We all know this. When healthy, this team is really good in the trenches. I think Harbaugh is the right man to be the head coach. I think he's already proven that through the small sample size. Certainly his career is an indication that he would be a really good fit for this Chargers team. But the reality is you got to show up on Sunday and deliver a big time victory. Find a way to get it done. Doesn't need to be a blowout. I always say any division win's a good win, whether it's by 1 point or 101 points. And this is an opportunity against a Broncos team that's feeling pretty good about themselves. They just beat up the Raiders pretty good. They played a lot of teams really close. They upset the Jets the week before that. This Broncos team is starting to feel pretty good about themselves right now. Sean Payton's starting to feel like they've got a few things figured out. We know they're good on defense. I think this has to be a big moment for the Chargers, for Herbert, this offensive line, for Harbaugh across the board here to come out and win this game, put this team above 500, get them heading in the right direction, prove that what we saw against the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Kansas City Chiefs in terms of their offensive issues were due to injuries. Because if it's due to injuries, hey, that's fine. You get healthy. Things will solve itself out as you get healthier the second half of the year. But if you get healthier and your offensive production still lags, that's a problem. This is a big time moment for the Chargers. Again, getting their 2 tackles back is absolutely massive. We'll have to see how it all shakes out, but they really need to take advantage of this opportunity Sunday.